Hello, and welcome to Development Purgatory.
This is the podcast all about the movies that were never made, the scripts that were never written, and the ideas that never even made it to the page. My name is Daniel Kaka.
And I'm Lexcee Riley.
Welcome back to part 2 of Plastic Man. If you have not listened to part 1, highly recommend to do so. We go through the history of Plastic Man throughout his publication history, where he came from, and into his introduction into DC Comics. And we just started the movie that they were supposed to make, supposedly in 1995, written by the Wachowskis. We see the character name for the movie, Daniel O'Brien. He has just gotten his powers against his will, and we're going to see how that all plays out in part 2.
Matrix Boogaloo.
Where are you coming from? Why are you in my edit bay?
I live here now.
Stop! Icarus and Poppy. They get Nebelman to help clean up the lab after their experiment. Nebelman arrives in a raincoat in his pajamas, because they did this in the middle of the night. He sees the mess that's caused by the explosion, and he faints. When Nebelman wakes up, he tells them that he needs the nanobot to stabilize the meltdown. But Icarus tells him that it's gone. Like, it's inside of Daniel. So without the nanobot, the waste is going to expel from the explosion and will only grow. And they can't do anything to contain it, but the best way that they can do so is by laying down liquid nitrogen just to slow it down. But it's going to continue to expand, and basically anything that it touches will be polymerized, meaning that it's going to also be fluid and jelly-like. And it's just going
telling you, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? This could have been half animated.
Yeah. Poppy asks Sims if he found Daniel, but he hasn't. And they're looking through his clothes to see if he has anything in there as for any clues, and they find the key card to the Admiral Hotel.
I thought they were making an engagement ring.
No. Daniel arrives back to the room, still woozy from what had been done to him.
I feel a little woozy here.
He's still excreting waste, and this time he coughs it out. The next morning, Daniel wakes up realizing that he can't breathe. So he's actually twisted his head around so many times that it causes him to close his airway.
What?
Yeah. He gets up, he corrects himself, he spins his head back to put it back in order.
Did you ever did I ever show you Death Becomes Her?
I mean, I've seen Death Becomes Her. We may have seen it together. But there's that moment where, was it Meryl Streep is thrown down the stairs and her neck snaps and twists around. Yeah. Kind of like that.
Death Becomes Her is 1992, so we were talking about CGI and that kind of thing. And I'm that, because that wasn't all prosthetic.
Mm-mm.
So it would have looked like that.
Yeah. Although, like I said, it's kind of like a bow tie situation where it's kind of pinched at the neck, twisted around like so. Suddenly the door bursts open, and it's Sim and Dobby. They try to capture Daniel, but he's bouncing around on the floor and the walls at the time they're trying to get him. Daniel grabs the windowsill, and as the goons, they grab his legs, they stretch him out as they attempt to take him. They let go of Daniel, and he slingshots out of the window, and he hits the ground. The people around him scream, thinking that they saw someone die, but Daniel gets up, and he's fine. Daniel looks up to see that his hands are still hanging from the window 9 stories up, so it's just big old spaghetti hands. He lets go, and his arms just kind of flop down to the ground, and then eventually retract back into him. Daniel takes off, and the goons, they inform Argon that O'Brien, he's still alive, but he just got away. Back at Argon Labs, there are news crews that are outside who are reporting on the accident. They don't know the details, but from what they've witnessed is that the staff is not allowed inside the building. Only high-ranking officials from the EPA, they are allowed to inside to investigate. We see the live news coverage on the TV inside of Susan's kitchen. Daniel knocks on the door. She's shocked to see him alive. He pleads to help her and explains what happened back at Argon Labs. He's now stretchy, and his skin...
Look at this!
His skin feels like plastic.
Fascinating.
Susan tells Daniel about their previous experiments with organic material.
So there was this mouse.
Yeah. And how eventually it would not resemble back to its original structure. So essentially, Daniel is doomed. He says, "Oh God, please, this can't be happening. I can't be plastic. A plastic man?" Roll credits. Susan hands Daniel a handful of caffeine diuretic pills to help him flush out the nanobots from inside of his body. Daniel is resistant to the pills because his stance on Western medicine, doesn't want them. Susan then suggests that she could surgically remove the bots from his body, and he's like, okay, I'll just take the pills. She states that she needs the nanobots to help stabilize the waste that is spewing at Argon Labs. So that's what they needed out of him. Back to the lab, faceless men are in silver hazmat suits, attempting to contain the oozing waste from the blast with liquid nitrogen. But it's no use. The waste will continue to spread. Meanwhile, Susan and Daniel continue to work on getting that nanobot. Susan, quote, "To put it simply, the nanobot inside of you is a microscopic machine encoded with information like a strand of messenger RNA that is programmed to synthesize your molecules with the pilocyprinase of assembler fluid, rebuilding the entire organic system.
That's a word.
With molecular level." O'Brien then just says, like, say it simpler, like say it in English. Yeah, which is kind of par for the course when it comes to science fiction talk.
Yeah.
Just be like, scientist is going to ramble on about this thing, and some general is like, say it in English or something like that. She simplifies it, saying, "The nanobot combined with your molecules with the plastic molecules in the white assembler fluid." So that's on a molecular level. You have more in common essentially with a Goodyear tire than with a human being. It's more rubbery and plasticky and whatnot.
You gonna die.
Yeah, basically. Susan demonstrates what happens to a polymerized egg that she experimented on. She bounces it, squishes it. Yeah, it reverts back. But then she shows Daniel an egg from 3 days ago, which is basically an unrecognizable blob. He's doomed.
Yeah, because it's killing all the living cells.
Yep. At the lab, the news reports that Argon was attacked by a radical environmentalist group. Susan reveals that the waste has a 48-hour period for the waste to be stabilized. She also wants to run some experiments on Daniel, so Susan takes a blood sample. It is just then that Daniel realizes that he needs to pee. He runs into the bathroom, and he goes into a beaker. Now, his urine is not liquid. It's actually described as like a rubber cement consistency. Yeah, it's weird. The two briefly fight over Daniel invading the lab and ruining what could be scientific progress. And Daniel, he's stating that the lab, all that it was doing was destroying the world and Earth. So eventually they laugh it off. And meanwhile, at the lab, we see Argon bribing the head of the EPA.
Shocker.
Yeah. Back at Susan's place, Daniel is splayed out on the couch, limbs dangling off the edge, his head resting on the floor while Susan is searching for the nanobot under a microscope. Daniel gets hungry and he stretches his head into the kitchen looking for food. He doesn't find anything and he stretches his head into the basement where Susan is. Daniel scares her, claiming that he didn't want her to hear him walking. She turns around to see that his head is kind of floating midair, kind of like a cobra.
Right.
She's frustrated because she can't find the nanobot and it must be still inside of him. She wants to do more tests, and they go into the backyard, and she asks Daniel to stretch out as far as he can, so like to stretch as tall as possible. It's there that he gets spotted by the two security guards, Sim and Dobby. Daniel continues to stretch his body, and he gets thinner and thinner, and as he does so, at one point, his pants fall to the ground.
God, the 90s were inappropriate.
Yeah, it was. He then goes back to normal size, puts his pants back on. Susan gets a blood sample and a hair sample and says that she's off to the lab because the equipment that she needs to test is all there at Argon Labs. Daniel stays at Susan's, downing multiple 2 liters of Coke. He plays around with a glass vase. He empties out the flowers. He actually sticks his head into it to kind of like conform to the shape.
Right.
This is just like a fun visual. He suddenly needs to pee again. He runs to the bathroom and then he has a thought. Wait, technically, I don't need to go to the bathroom. And he just kind of stretches himself into the bathroom and he fills the beaker with a yellow fluid. Weird. The camera moves closer and closer into the beaker till we get to the molecular level, and we see that the nanobot is inside of that beaker.
Inside his pee?
Yep, inside the pee. Didn't see this coming, did you?
I weirdly feel like I did. If you put Bound and the Matrix together, like...
Yeah. We cut to the Cook County Courthouse, where we see the head of the EPA, John Joplin. He gives an announcement stating that Argonne Labs was the site of a deliberate terrorist attack, and the radical environment caused a toxic spill within the lab. The person responsible is Daniel O'Brien, and we see Joplin on TV, but he's muted, and we're back in Susan's living room. Susan walks in with a pizza, and we see a flesh-colored love seat, and Daniel's head suddenly appears from it.
This has Jim Carrey written all over it.
As he retracts, he realizes that he's naked, and he quickly puts on his clothes.
Your pants fell off earlier. We've seen it.
Yep. But Susan holds up a tiny red suit, about the size for a G.I. Joe doll. Turns out she made this specialized suit to adapt to Daniel's abilities. And it comes with little red boots. So this is where we get the iconic red, yellow suit. Yeah.
You couldn't have given me pants?
Nope. Daniel runs into the bathroom and he tries on the suit, and it fits perfectly, in which he says, "Groovy."
No, thank you.
That's a Bruce Campbell line.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. Meanwhile, Susan sees the news on TV and turns on the volume. A manhunt has been put out for Daniel. Susan puts together that they're blaming the spill.
It's goggles time.
Yeah, they're blaming the spill on him because they can't contain the spill.
Right. They have 48 hours. When in doubt, put a time crunch on something.
Oh, you always have to. That builds up tension so well. Suddenly, Sim and Dobby burst into the room, guns drawn. The two are escorted out, but the beaker with the nanobot is left behind. They get into the limo where they meet with Icarus, Poppy, and Nebelman. Icarus gives his villain speech, telling Daniel that he gained his first fortune from his invention of PVC. He was once Mr. Universe, and now he's withering away. He claims that nature is the enemy and the future is science. What they need is the nanobot, and they're going to cut it out of him. But Daniel admits that the nanobot is no longer inside him. Susan slaps her hand over Daniel's mouth. Icarus orders the goons to search Susan's house for the nanobot. Susan yells at Daniel to do something. Nebelman pulls out a syringe, and Icarus pulls out a gun. Danielman extends his arm, pointing the gun away from himself, and it fires inside the limo. The bullet then bounces around and hits Nebelman in the leg. Daniel takes the syringe and injects it into Nebelman. Poor Nebelman, just an assistant. And it was a sedative. So he got shot in the leg, and he gets knocked out by the...
You got to find a new job.
Yeah. This is not worth it.
No.
Put in your 2 weeks now. Daniel, he reaches for the door, but he realizes that it's locked from the inside. He dives into the back seat, and he actually makes his way into the trunk. So he kind of slithers his way in through the cracks and then out into the trunk. Yep. He opens the trunk from the inside and realizes he's on the highway. The driver, he's swerving back and forth, trying to knock off his balance.
Why, you gonna bounce? Just hop on out.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of does that. What he does is he sees a car traveling the opposite way, and he grabs onto that car and he slingshots himself into the air. When he hits the ground, he actually hits a Cadillac, and he ricochets all over the place and lands in someone's backyard. He gets up and he stretches himself really tall, and he actually starts walking over the houses to get back to Susan's house a lot faster. We actually get this quick shot of these kids who are playing in a sandbox, and all of a sudden a foot just stomps into their sandbox and goes away, and they look up to see that it's this really, really tall man.
I hope they built a teeny tiny tower, Godzilla style, just...
I would love it, yes. Sim and Dobby are back at Susan's apartment. They're on the phone with Nebelman asking what they are looking for. Sim, he finds a beaker of yellow liquid. He takes a sniff and it smells like crazy glue. That's how they know that they have it. Outside, Daniel hides behind a light post, watching Sim and Dobby as they exit Susan's home.
But if the nanobot's not in him anymore, why does he still have the powers? Because it just changed his DNA.
It just changed his DNA. The nanobot is helping stabilize him, or it did help him stabilize. So the egg, for example, when they showed that, and it's this is what it's like right now. But if
Right.
it goes unstable, it turns into a blob.
Got it. So we got to put the nanobot back inside him.
Yeah, essentially, like, he needs the nanobot eventually. He hides behind a lamppost and he watches Sim and Dobby as they exit Susan's home, and they get into a black Lincoln. Daniel then sneaks under the car and clings underneath to the chassis as they drive away. So he's just hiding underneath the vehicle.
God, this movie would have been so difficult and so expensive to make.
Right? The car with Susan, Niebelman, Icarus, and Poppy, they arrive at Argon Labs. They get out and Icarus tells Niebelman to inform him when the nanobot gets back. Susan warns them that they have about 24 hours to get the nanobot to take care of the waste before it becomes unstable. Icarus, on the other hand, he doesn't care. He only wants to use the nanobot on himself in the hopes that it'll do what it did to Daniel. Icarus gives a tour to Susan of his garden, which is filled with impossible plants.
You know who this reminds me of? Nightmare Before Christmas.
The mad scientist?
Yeah. Like in the wheelchair with the mummy wraps. And he also has a garden, right?
Yeah, he does. So he has like this garden of impossible plants. They're crossbred, genetically manipulated plants that rely on radiation and chemicals to survive. They also see a gardener tending to the garden. Icarus claims that these plants will change the world, just like how the atomic bomb did.
No, thank you.
Meanwhile, Sim and Dobby arrive back at Argon Labs and Daniel slips out from under the car, making sure that he does not get caught. In the garden, Icarus is giving another villain monologue, explaining to Susan that science is not about understanding nature, but it is about a way to conquer it, to control it, to bend it to his will. Icarus is told that the nanobot is here and they need to get the assembler tank ready, which is going to be in about 6 hours. So Susan warns them that if they do not use the nanobot to take care of the waste, that this is the last nanobot that she's ever going to make. And Icarus reminds her that he doesn't care if the city turns into gelatin as long as he gets what he wants.
His body back?
Yep. Doesn't matter what gets in his way. Doesn't matter who.
How are you going to use that body if the city is goo?
If the whole thing is jelly, I don't know. Daniel slips in and he hears two guards talking about that they're looking for a guy in red underwear. So
Not wrong.
They walk past a wall of art and they look up to see a red painting that they've never seen before.
I wonder what that could be.
But they think nothing of it and they just keep on walking.
Oh my God.
Susan and Niebelman are held in a room with lab equipment. Niebelman tries to convince her to give in to Icarus's demands so that she'll be all right, but Susan refuses to give in. In the hallway, a guard spots Daniel. The guard yells, and just before he can pull out his gun, Daniel reaches his arms out about 100 feet away, and he wraps it around his head until the guard blacks out and just lets him go. Daniel continues to search, sticking his head between the closed doors, and calls out for Susan in a hushed voice. This one, I can really see Jim Carrey doing
Yes.
Susan. Susan. Down the hall, the elevator doors open. It's Icarus and Poppy. Daniel presses himself thin against the door. Icarus and Poppy make their way down the hall as they're discussing a way that they can get to Susan so that she can cave, and they realize they need to go after Daniel. She must have feelings for him, and they're certain that he's going to return back to Argon Labs.
If we threaten him, that's how we get
That's
her.
how we get to her. They pass by where Daniel was, and he's gone. The two enter into Poppy's bedroom. Everything is red and made of PVC. Icarus and Poppy get into a heated discussion. Poppy is asking if Icarus still loves her, how she's changed so much of herself for him. Icarus is annoyed by the questions, asking what is it that she wants. He then notices that there's two identical red ottomans, but he doesn't really say anything about it.
I was going to say, being in this red room,
Yeah.
like, that's the perfect place for him to hide.
Yeah. Now, to emphasize her point, she stands on the ottoman with her heels on. And we actually hear from the ottoman this like gurgle of pain. She's hoping that if the polymerization works on Icarus and turns him into a plastic man just like Daniel, could she have the same treatment done to her? That way they can both live forever. Icarus says that he'll consider it, and Icarus leaves, and Poppy is furious. Behind her, we see the ottoman scurry into the bathroom. So just understand, this is like her own personal room.
Yeah.
Like a bedroom almost. So to make this make
where's
sense,
this going?
Poppy undresses to take a bath.
Yeah, okay.
Daniel looks around and he notices that there's not really any place to hide except the toilet.
Oh, man.
Poppy enters into the room, but she gets into the tub, and Daniel sneakily reaches up and flushes himself down the toilet.
100% Jim Carrey.
Poppy, she hears the toilet, and she's like, that thing just must be broken. I didn't see anything. So, yeah. We cut to Susan doing science stuff with beakers. I don't know how to describe it. But she looks outside through these barred windows. The camera pans up to a chandelier. We get closer to a single light bulb that appears to be burnt out. We get closer and closer to see that it's a security camera. And then we travel through the camera, through the fiber optic cables, and we emerge at a security monitor with Sims
the Matrix
watching over Susan. Yeah. We even kind of see this in Bound as well, where they're like the telephone between the two rooms. Yeah, we kind of see that like following of the wires.
Yeah.
Sim, he is reading a dictionary and he learns a new word, ubiquitous. Present or seeming to be present everywhere, all at the same time, omnipresent. It'll all come together, don't worry. Daniel continues to zip through the maze of pipes. He randomly emerges from one toilet and he sees that the room is empty. He towels off and quickly opens the door and finds Susan. How lucky. They can't believe it. She was worried about Daniel and he responds with, I'm Plastic Man, remember? Sure.
I'm Plastic Man, remember?
Yeah. Susan informs Daniel that Icarus is going to use the nanobot on himself, and they need to get it from Argon's private lab before he does. Susan warns Daniel about the guard outside of the door, and he shrugs it off. He opens the door, and he's met with Sim and multiple other guards, and Sim, he calls himself Mr. Ubiquitous. Paid off immediately.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And had this had a rewrite, they probably would have written that out immediately.
Oh, yeah. That is 100% unnecessary.
Icarus wheels into the room and greets Daniel. Quote, welcome to my home, Mr. O'Brien. Oh, yeah. They call him Mr. O'Brien, as in like...
We know who you are.
No, Mr. Anderson.
Oh,
yeah.
Got
it.
It's
kind of that same tone. It's like, welcome to my home, Mr. O'Brien. As you can see, we've been expecting you. They seem to have Daniel cornered, but he turns it around and he says that he's actually been looking for them and he has saved them the trouble of him looking for them.
Moment, 100%.
Yeah.
I have been looking for you.
Well, if you were me and I'd be you and I would use your body to get to the top. You can't stop me no matter who you are.
Yeah.
So Sim, he taunts him and Daniel lashes out his tongue like a frog and he snatches the gun. Daniel threatens to shoot everyone, but is stopped when he sees Dobby has a gun against Susan's head. Ooh, they're using Susan. Icarus tells Daniel that they have a room for him and that he might be so comfortable in it that he may never leave. Everyone puts on an oxygen mask and the gardener walks in and he sprays a chemical into Daniel's face and he collapses. Susan asks where they're going to do with him and Icarus says, it depends on what she does.
Fair answer.
Daniel wakes up in a glass cage.
Of emotion.
Well, yeah. He's in the conservatory, which is where the garden is, and it's being pumped with this gas, this noxious gas, which Icarus explains is a mix of oxygen dioxide and sodium pentothal.
Yep.
Daniel is just a red puddle in the middle of the cage. Susan agrees to give Icarus the design if he agrees to let him go. Nebelman tells Icarus the assembler tank, which kind of looks like a Giger sarcophagi and a dry cleaning machine, that it's ready.
Okay.
A big old metal tube,
right.
But like stylish. Poppy helps Icarus undress and get into a robe. She asks him again, but he tells her that this is not the time. Meanwhile, Susan continues to do science in her room. To make sure the guards can't see what she's doing, she turns out the lights and she barricades the door with a chair. The guards get suspicious and attempt to break down the door. She takes the test tube filled with the replicator fallout and pours it onto the metal bars of the window. The bars now can bend like rubber, and she pulls them apart.
Smart.
Just far enough so that she can slip through with a stool. She gets out on the ledge to find the main lab roof is about 40 feet below her. Turns out she actually took the stool that she took with her, she combined it with the replicator fallout as well, and so that's stretchy, and she uses it like a rope.
Oh, that's really smart.
Or like a bungee cord. She attaches it to the ledge, and she lowers herself down with the stretchy stool, but realizes that the stool is not long enough for her to get all the way down to the roof. Now the stool is going down.
Now we have parameters.
Yeah, but now the stool is going lower and lower and lower. It doesn't go far enough, and then it's starting to like snap back. So she has to decide, like, is she going to go back into the room? But she lets go, and she continues to fall. She actually screams as she falls, and she hits the roof of the main lab, and it bounces. The lab has been polymerized. Like it is, the fallout has been like spreading so far that now the whole lab is now like bouncy and stretchy. Yeah, everything is stretchy, bouncy. She manages to get inside of the lab, and everything inside there is polymerized. So like even when she's like walking around, her feet start to like sink into the floor with every single step. The door handles, they feel like kneaded dough. She encounters 2 crew members using liquid nitrogen on the floors. She looks around for a weapon, and she grabs a fire extinguisher. She swings it at the crew member, and as it hits its head, it just bounces off of him.
Yeah.
The extinguisher has been polymerized. The other worker grabs her, and she drops the extinguisher into the puddle of liquid nitrogen. She kicks one of the members in the nuts, and she gets free. She grabs the extinguisher and hits the crew member head, and now it's solid, so it also like breaks into a billion pieces because it was in liquid nitrogen.
It frozen.
Yes. Icarus makes his way to the chamber. He removes his robe. We see his lizard brain. Yeah. We see his withered body. His legs like sticks of beef jerky.
Ew.
The door closes and the chamber fills with chemicals. We hear a muffled scream inside, and Poppy bites her nails as she watches. The tank is drained of its liquid and the doors open. Icarus coughs up a gelatinous mass from his lungs, and he rises to his feet. He's no longer crippled. He's restored to the physique that he used to be, except his skin, it feels like plastic. Poppy embraces him.
Oh, icky.
Yeah. He screams and he says, "It's fantastic to be plastic."
Get out.
That's a line from the movie.
Get out.
I didn't write this.
Get out.
He also goes into a monologue about how it's man's ultimate triumph. And Sim enters the room and he tells Icarus that Susan has escaped and she's on her way to expose everything to the press. Also, the crew has abandoned the main lab. The waste cannot be contained and they need to evacuate. We cut to a scene where Susan, she's actually wearing one of those like protective suits, the people that are like, she's not going to the press. She's like
gonna go save him. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Daniel attempts to escape. Underneath the wall of the cage, he turns his arm into a tire jack and uses the other arm to slowly ratchet up the shaft. But he's too weak and he falls back into a puddle.
Again, 100% Jim Carrey.
Oh, yeah. He tries to turn his finger into like a glass cutter, but it's no use. Sim, Dobby, and Nebelman enter into the conservatory to finish the job. They turn off the oxygen and Daniel begins to suffocate. An anonymous crew member enters and takes off their helmet to reveal that it's Susan. She fights off Dobby and grabs Sim's gun. Sim fights for control of the gun and manages to get off a shot at the plexiglass enclosure. It's just enough for Daniel to squeeze through and he emerges on the outside like a genie. Now they're in trouble. Sims grabs the gun from Susan, restrains her, and holds the gun to her. Nebelman cowers behind Dobby. The gardener goes to find the spray cans, and Sim, he aims the gun at Daniel instead, and he yells, "I ain't afraid of no plastic man," and he shoots. The bullet hits Daniel in the chest, but the bullet stretches out Daniel, and it stops, and then it slingshots back, and the bullet hits Sims, and he dies.
Yeah.
Just all of a sudden, that's what killed him, is just the slingshot bullet. Nebelman tries to escape, but Susan stops him by punching him in the face and knocks him out. Daniel turns his hand into a giant hammer and hits Dobby multiple times. The gardener begins to spray a deadly red chemical. Daniel turns his hand into a giant bellow and he sucks up the gas, and he forms it into a nozzle and sticks it into the gardener's mask and fills it with the deadly gas.
Oh my God.
He thrashes around trying to remove the mask, and he smashes into a sea monkey tank and he collapses. The little creatures then swarm around his body. I didn't mention them earlier. When Icarus first shows Susan the garden, they also show the sea monkeys, but it's like such an offhanded scene where
Check
it's like,
off sea monkeys?
Essentially. It's like, I didn't need to put in there. I can just explain it like when they appear and actually like do something. Anyway, Susan and Daniel reunite. Quote, they hold each other tightly, feeling the volatile electrons charging in the air, creating an intermolecule bond between them. They kiss. They kiss so intensely that the entire building shakes around them. Turns out the support beams of Argon are affected by the fallout and can no longer support the weight of the building. Daniel asks about the nanobot, and Susan says it's too late. Icarus already used it. Daniel asks, well, what if we just threw Icarus into the core? Would that stop it? And she's like, that might. We cut to Poppy's bedroom, where we see her and Icarus, and this is a quote from the script. What is happening beneath the red rubber sheets of Poppy's bed is beyond anything ever pictured in the Kama Sutra. Yep.
I can't even comment on that.
Mm-hmm. They get interrupted by the building shaking, and Icarus realizes that the building is collapsing. Cut to Daniel and Susan. Susan is trying to prevent Daniel from going after Icarus. Daniel wants Susan to go to the press and tell the truth about what's going on at Argon Labs. As they argue, the elevator doors open and reveal Poppy and Icarus, and they exchange words. Icarus, quote, it remains to be seen who is the good guy and who is the bad guy. History is written by the victor. Daniel, quote, the only history I'm going to be writing is your obituary. And the two of them fight.
Jim Carrey.
Definitely Jim Carrey. Although I can see Bruce Campbell saying that line too.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So it can kind of go either way. And they fight. And it just looks like spaghetti arms just slapping each other. The two crash out of a large window and they hit the ground and they bounce and eventually they get to their feet. The two stretchy beings are like locked in combat. The press sees them and they crawl under the fence to get a better look at things. Daniel is leading Icarus to the main lab, and Icarus, he then catches on to what he's doing. He's leading him there to like prevent the meltdown. Icarus tries to leap away, but Daniel catches him. He turns his fists into jackhammers, wrecking balls, and this one confused me, ballistic missiles, and uses them to pummel Icarus's face. He falls to the ground with a wet smack. Daniel takes the unconscious Icarus and heads towards Susan's lab. He climbs up the stairs of the tower with large strides, trying to get up faster and faster. Icarus's eyes snap open, and he wraps his body around Daniel like a boa constrictor, closing his windpipe. Daniel tries to slam his body against the wall to shake him, but since everything's polymerized, they just bounce off of everything instead, so he's not really doing anything. Daniel is about to pass out when he sees a canister of liquid nitrogen. He elongates his arms and grabs it, and he sprays Icarus's arms, freezing them solid, which allows Daniel to slip out of his grip. Daniel sprays even more liquid nitrogen onto Icarus so that he can't move, and he continues to carry his frozen body into Susan's lab. Meanwhile, Susan and Poppy begin to fight. Poppy whips out a knife and swings it at Susan. Susan ducks behind a statue of Icarus and she pushes it over, knocking over Poppy. The statue smashes to the ground, breaking off one of the arms, in which Susan takes that arm and slaps Poppy with it. The building tips even further, throwing them both off balance. Poppy gets up and kicks Susan in the head, knocking her out. She then heads towards the roof where there's a helicopter, but the roof, because it's slanting, has like fallen to the edge of the building. Like it's still there.
Nothing's landed on that.
But it's like it's just on its edge. So she gets into the pilot seat. She starts the helicopter engine, and that's where we see Susan come to the very top, and then she tries to get in as well. Because of this, like they're fighting inside of the helicopter eventually like tips over the edge, but it's hanging off of the ledge of the building.
Why would you guys get in a helicopter? That's so stupid.
I don't know. Well, she was going to fly away, but because of Susan, like now the helicopter is rendered useless and they're just going to like hanging from the tower. In the lab, Daniel finds a crater where the assembler tank used to be. It is now a pond of pale, glowing goo. Daniel throws Icarus into the crater, but Icarus has a single finger that is not frozen, and he stretches it out and he clings onto a pipe, preventing him from falling in. Beep. Daniel then turns his hand into a giant pair of scissors, and he snips Icarus's fingers, which allow him to fall into the pond of moon milk. Quote from the script, moon milk.
Moon milk, all right.
The liquid sizzle, and a giant bubble begins to inflate, and Daniel runs. On the roof, Susan reaches out her hand to Poppy in an attempt to save her. The bubble continues to swell until, boom, it bursts. The force of the pop launches Daniel into the air. He tucks himself into a ball, and he bounces around through the hallway. Everything begins to solidify, but in their liquefied state.
Right now you just have these, like, puddles of bricks, but it's, like, hard.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's an episode of The Simpsons where Bart floods the basketball court, the gym court, and then because it's all made of linoleum, they had to dry it, and now it's all lumpy. So now these kids are playing basketball on it, and there's one part where I think Milhouse is dribbling a ball, and the ball just bounces back into his head.
Oh my god.
So essentially that's what this place is turned into. The helicopter breaks free and falls down into the lab, crashing through the roof and bursting into flames. Susan is thrown over the edge, but she hangs onto the top. So essentially, Poppy has died with the helicopter, but Susan is hanging over the edge.
Oh boy.
Yeah, there's this moment she stares up and sees the moon and just like has this peaceful moment before like it all blows up.
Wow.
Yeah. So Susan is hanging over the edge and she looks up to see Nebelman. He tells her that this was all her fault. And Daniel is now frantically looking for Susan. The tower then solidifies in its bent shape, making it very unstable, and it's about to fall over like a Jenga tower. Nebelman pries up Susan's finger, but the tower is now beginning to fall, and Nebelman is thrown off the tower. Daniel spots Susan, and he rockets himself. He like slingshots himself to her. He flattens himself out, and he makes himself into a, quote, giant luge chute that Susan then lands on, and then she softly slides down into Daniel's arms.
Well, yeah, you don't want to break her neck like Spike.
Oh, no. The building collapses into a fiery oblivion as the two kiss, and the camera tilts up to the moon and fades into the sun, and it tilts down, and it's the next day. We see Daniel and Susan walking down the street with grocery bags in their hands. They're happy. Susan recalls the last time that they went to the grocery store and the problems that they had. She says that maybe they met before they were supposed to. They spot someone littering, and at first this makes Daniel furious. Susan doesn't want a repeat of last time. Instead, Daniel picks up a cup and throws it away with no confrontation. They continue to walk as he wraps his arm around her. The camera then pans back to find the litter bug's head face first in the trash can with the cup stuffed into his mouth.
I was going to say, there's more to that.
Mm-hmm. And we get a close-up of a sign that says, "Keep litter in its place." And that is the end.
That's a very cute movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's very reminiscent of like The Mask, Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
Like,
but I would argue to say, not a Plastic Man movie. It's a completely different movie entirely from what the character has been established to be.
Yeah.
So, question for you.
Yeah.
Would you like to see this movie?
I'm torn. This is the first time I'm not like, hell yeah, or no.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see it made in the 90s. I don't want to see it try to get made now.
Yeah.
But I think for like 90s nostalgia, it would have been fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think another movie for Jim Carrey would have been great.
I think it would have fallen under the same category as The Mask. It might not have been as good as The Mask.
Yeah.
But
agreed.
I think it would have fallen under that category of like, this is a wacky CGI movie. And to later find out like, oh, that was a comic book? I had no idea.
Yeah. I completely agree. Like, you would never have classified it as like a superhero movie.
It would have been something completely different.
It has like a fun hint of Captain Planet thrown in,
Mm-hmm.
which I like that his origin story is different than you were dunked in poison.
Mm-hmm.
I was bummed at first, but I actually really like that his origin story was different, but I don't need it now.
Yeah. Or at least if you do Plastic Man now, you cannot approach it this way. You have to be more faithful to the comic, which is how a lot of superhero movies are made today is like, you got to go to the source because so many people know what the source is.
I don't think the source material, like, I don't get Plastic Man. Like, I don't think the source material is that interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think this was a more interesting take on it. I actually think, given our climate issues, you could make this a far more serious movie. But I don't get Plastic Man, like, at all.
I think because I know Plastic Man as a character and the way that I've been shown Plastic Man before, I have an idea of Plastic Man in my head based on how I've seen him in the comics, how I've seen him in animated shows, in the Injustice movie. Like, it is a very different character. It's a very different take. Yeah. And I feel like it's not consistent. And I think the consistency is where
His consistency is off?
Yeah. I think that's where I divert away and say, like, I wouldn't see this as a Plastic Man movie. I see this as a completely different movie of a elongated man.
This is just a zany comedy.
Yes.
I actually also don't think we need plastic. Like, I'm excited for a James Gunn take on it because I think it'll be interesting. And, like, I don't think we need Plastic Man as a main character. Yeah. We've had 4 Fantastic Four remakes now. I'm sorry, but each time we don't get the CG right, even now. Like, well, now we're rushing, so that's why it doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed the latest Fantastic Four. If that's going to be your title character, it's not why we like Fantastic Four. We like Sue and Reed's, like, love story, which I guess you can always have baby Plaz, but, like, now we really don't need it with the current storyline. So
I think the way to use it is kind of like what they did with the animated series, where Plastic Man is never a main character. You sprinkle him in.
I'm fine with him being in the next Superman as, like, Guy Gardner's, like, they can go chuckle it up. That's all I need. I don't need a standalone film.
I kind of think of him as, like, it's kind of like cilantro. You don't have a cilantro salad, but cilantro sprinkled on things is delicious.
Well, and some people hate it.
That's true. Why didn't this happen?
Because the Wachowskis went on to do The Matrix.
Well, for reasons unknown, the script had sat in development hell.
Because it was expensive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's definitely expensive. And for the Wachowskis, their careers just continued. The script that put the siblings on the map, we mentioned before, is Assassins. That came out in 1995. Unfortunately, so much of that script was rewritten by Brian Helgeland, who wrote The Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Masters. He also wrote Mystic River and LA Confidential.
Whoa.
Right? The Wachowskis, they actually tried to take their names off the film because of how much was changed, which is why I didn't...
love them. Like, their stuff is a little out there, but, like, I like how they carry themselves.
Yeah. They're not afraid to swing for the fences, and I admire that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, if you think of something like Jupiter Ascending, for example, like, not a great movie, but, like, it really swung for the fences. It was gorgeous, and, like, they were really trying something, and unfortunately, like, that didn't work out. Whereas something like The Matrix, you can definitely see, if you just read the script of The Matrix, you'd be like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't understand it. And somehow it just, like, it was lightning in a bottle.
The love of The Matrix really is insane. The fact that they did, 3 and then did the 4th one, like, decade, 20 or whatever, way too long later. And like I said, it's a good movie. I just... You couldn't have paid me to go, oh, yeah, this will be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. It didn't seem like it. It was just like, it just seemed like some other weird sci-fi movie that was going to be made as well. There was a interview with Josh Horowitz in 2003.
Josh Horowitz.
Horowitz. In 2003 with Lana Wachowski explaining vaguely what happened with the Plastic Man script. Quote, originally, they liked the script a lot. They got a director, and he didn't like the script. I don't know why directors sign on to these projects and completely rewrite everything, but he rewrote it, and now I guess it's not the project they want anymore, so we'll see. They figured the only way that they could prove that they could write a good movie is that if they could direct a movie themselves. So they wrote the film Bound. They sold the film stating that they were the only ones that could direct it. Executive producer of Assassins, Joel Silver, then offered to finance the film for $6 million and gave them free rein in regards to their story. The main plot of Bound is the lesbian relationship.
Right.
And you know, especially in the 90s, had a studio executive read that, they'll be like, no, it needs to be heterosexual.
Mm-hmm.
Like, easily. So they were just like, no, we can't have that. We need to make sure that this relationship stays the way it is. The film wasn't a financial success, but it did make its money back. But it did prove that the Wachowskis had the ability to direct a movie, which opened the doors to allow them to make The Matrix. With them, they brought the cinematographer from Bound, Bill Pope, to shoot the movie, and the actor, Joe Pantoliano, or also known as Joey Pants. After the massive success of The Matrix and the 2 sequels that followed, Warner Brothers approached the Wachowskis to write and direct a film adaptation the studio has been trying to produce since 1992, and that was Speed Racer.
They're all over the map.
Yeah. With the help of the visual effects designer John Guerra, the visual effects designer who also worked on The Matrix, Speed Racer, unfortunately, that was a flop in its opening weekend. It was third behind Iron Man and What Happens in Vegas.
Yeah, how do you compete with Iron Man, and then anyone who wasn't going to see Iron Man was going to see What Happens in Vegas?
In its theatrical run, it did make over $93 million, which would be great if the film didn't cost $120 million to make.
Oh. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an expensive movie.
It was.
What year was this?
This was in 2008.
Yikes.
Yeah. The script for Plastic Man, that was leaked in June of 2003. Now, in July of 2008, Joel Silver, who's the producer who took them under their wing.
Did he do Batman? Is that why I know that name?
Joel Silver, he did Lethal Weapon and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
There it is.
Mm-hmm. He's done a lot of big movies as well. He's one of the big Hollywood producers. Joel Silver, he was on a German talk show promoting ninja assassins. The producer was then asked about the Wachowskis' next project after Speed Racer. He hinted that they might be revisiting Plastic Man with Keanu Reeves as Eels O'Brien.
No.
So this is where that rumor came from.
I get it, but no.
Yeah. And he said that there was a potential release date at the end of 2009. So there was a lot of hope that was there.
He went on to avenge his dog. He's doing just fine.
Yeah. Obviously, none of this was officially confirmed, but news outlets, they just went off on this. They heard this one rumor, and they're just like, the Wachowskis are doing Plastic Man. Wachowskis are doing Plastic Man. And this is around the day and age where, Marvel just came out with Iron Man, and just, they're going to put together the MCU, and it's what is DC going to do? They're going to do Plastic Man. No, it didn't happen, though. But it doesn't mean that others haven't tried to wrap their ideas around this stretchy anti-hero. In September 2013, user Jet Beetle of the RPF forum claimed to hear from Warner Brothers and DC producers that they were looking at David Tennant for the role of Plastic Man in the upcoming Justice League movie. Quote, and this is what he put on the forum, "A couple of producers I know told me that they were involved in an upcoming Justice League movie. I've known these guys for years, and as nice as they are to never have been involved in something as big as Justice League, so who knows? They did say Warner is basically trying to follow Marvel's lead, no surprise there, and amongst the heavy hitters already expected to be on hand, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, they want to put in a comic relief character. They seem to believe that this is what Ant-Man will be, no matter how I defend the character. I admit I have no idea how Pym would handle the upcoming film." This is before they found out that Hank Pym was going to be, and not Paul Rudd. Then when they told me the character Warner was planning to include, well, I smiled and I could totally see it as a good thing. The idea of Plastic Man bouncing all over the place and the fact that the studio was looking at David Tennant brought him to life. This is another take it with a grain of salt rumor. And as we know, what happened, Ezra Miller ended up being the Flash, and he was the
comic relief. Yeah.
Comic relief.
That worked out well.
Yeah. Your boy, Ben Schwartz of
Sonic fame.
Yep.
Or of Don't Be Suspicious fame.
He has been a loud advocate on wanting to portray Plastic Man. And he was inspired by watching Deadpool, saying that Plastic Man could be DC's Deadpool. In an episode of the X-Ray Vision podcast, Ben Schwartz pitched his story.
Plastic Man is a thief. Eel O'Brien is a thief, right? He even gets his superpowers while he's, around his bad guys, whatever. And they ditch him, which is also in the original one, which is also something interesting to think at. That even that group of people who are assholes don't like him. But I thought the fun of this character would be he gets powers, but he doesn't stop being a thief. And the course of the movie is people, he has to finally be convinced to use his powers for good.
In the kindness is punk rock era that James Gunn has created, which I think is incredibly needed right now.
Yeah.
I don't know how you stick Thief Plastic Man into that as any sort of main character.
I think you would have to change it up. I think it wouldn't be Ben Schwartz's story, given this is also in 2000, before 2020. So before...
The world fell apart?
Yeah, this is before James Gunn, before...
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so it's
that
still...
makes sense then.
It's still in that era.
Pre-2020 comment makes sense.
Yeah, so that's what he was going for.
But I do like that casting a lot.
Yes, I do too. In December 2018, The Hollywood Reporter announced that they were working on a new Plastic Man movie, and Amanda Adoku was hired to pen the script. Prior to that, she wrote an episode of The Mayor and recently wrote Breaking News in Yuba County. In December of 2020, Kat Vesco was hired to rewrite the script. She was known for adapting Queen of the Air, which is a story of the trapeze artist Lillian Letzel, which had Margot Robbie attached to it. She was also working on adapting the comic Lumberjanes into an animated series for HBO Max, but eventually the film and I guess Lumberjanes also got canceled as well. In February 2020, James Gunn was responding to fans on Threads. User Coley21 asked if one of these news stories were true, and he put up 3 news stories. 1, a Teen Titans film is in development. 2, there's an open casting for Ruthie for the Supergirl movie. And 3, Darren Aronofsky is to direct Plastic Man. And James Gunn, he responded with, at least one of those things is not true. Have fun guessing.
What a sinister man.
I know. I mean, he can't
No, but he's not he
could also just not respond.
Yeah. No, he's Mr. Kindness is punk rock.
Yeah. Also around this time, Kevin Smith revealed on his podcast, Fat Man Beyond, that he found on his old laptop a script that he had written 2 years ago for a potential Plastic Man cartoon that would have cast Jim Parsons as the voice of Patrick Eel O'Brien.
Interesting.
Yeah. I know Jim Parsons has that stigma of being on The Big Bang Theory, but he's
No, I don't think he does. He was in another movie where he had cancer or his boyfriend had cancer. And I was like, this is not okay.
He's a great actor.
Yeah.
He's really funny. So I think he would work perfectly for it.
I know it was animated, but I actually could see him in a live action as well, is where my brain was going.
Yeah.
He's got the limbs.
I can see that too. Yeah. And then lastly, in August of 2025, Rainn Wilson.
This is what popped up that I've been itching to talk about. I was
said,
what?
The very last paragraph, he announced that he would like to play Plastic Man, and he actually reached out to James Gunn for the potential role. Now, for those at home, if you remember Rainn Wilson, mostly known as Dwight from The Office, but if you recall, Rainn Wilson was in a James Gunn movie back in 2010 called Super.
I don't think I've ever seen Super.
Super is such a weird movie, but Rainn Wilson is basically I think it was after a robbery gone wrong, he decides to be a vigilante himself. He doesn't have superheroes at all.
Oh, this movie. I've seen, someone had it on. I've never seen all of it.
It was with Elliot Page.
Yeah.
It seems pretty straightforward, but there are some moments where it gets real weird in there.
Yeah.
But I can see why he would reach out and be like, hey, James Gunn,
remember
my
me?
old buddy. Remember? You put me in a superhero movie before. Let's do it again.
It's so interesting because I think that Rainn has the voice and he has the comedic timing. I don't know that he has the look. I'm trying to picture him with dark hair. And that's not to say that he couldn't get in superhero shape, but with those shorts,
Yeah, what I imagine, especially with the goggles and the hair and the square jaw, Ben Schwartz fits the profile just so well. Just look wise, we know he's really funny.
Is this your last paragraph?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the other one that popped up that I also think is genius, and again, this was me Googling while we were recording, was Max Greenfield.
Ooh.
Schmitty!
Oh, that would be really good. Yeah. Wow. I really like that casting.
There's no basis to that at all other than a Google image of like,
Someone just fan casting.
but it had Ben Schwartz and Jim Parsons in the image as well. That's why I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I can see him.
Oh, I
pulling it
take
off
my money.
really well.
I don't think Plastic Man needs a solo film. I think Max Greenfield needs a solo film.
Yeah.
Also, Max Greenfield and Nathan Fillion, like back and forth would be real good.
I think Plastic Man on its own doesn't have the pull to bring people to watch it in theaters. Batman has the pull to bring people to watch it in theaters, but you can also use him just like with Superman. No one's going to see the Guy Gardner Green Lantern movie, the Mr. Terrific movie, but like they're fantastic in the Superman movie. So you take something like Batman, kind of treat it like the Brave and the Bold and be like, well, Batman, he teams up with other DC heroes. Why not it be Max Greenfield, Plastic Man?
If it's moody Robert Pattinson, that's actually really good.
It'd be really funny.
Shit.
Yeah, Schmidt.
Schmitty.
Yeah.
I thought Ben Schwartz was really great. I still do. But the minute I saw Max Greenfield, I was like, take my money. Take my money.
Yeah. It's Josh Holloway playing Gambit. And you're just like, that's the perfect
I still
look.
want to see Josh Holloway playing Gambit.
Oh, he's so good. He would be so good.
I would rather see a Gambit movie than a Plastic Man movie.
I agree with that. Yeah, with Gambit, like, he has enough of a pull. He's a big enough character to hold his own
He's
movie.
got a better love story, too. Not that you need that.
There's more in the comics, although recently with Plastic Man, they've really expanded on him. But, like, there's more origins when it comes to Gambit. There's more storylines that come with Gambit. Whereas Plastic Man has always been... He was a main character and then just kind of pushed off to the side. But it's hard to say that he's one note because he's really not one note, but like he can serve a purpose. Like him being part of the Justice League is really the
Justice
best.
Gang.
Is like the best area for him to be a part of,
Yeah.
where you utilize his abilities for like very specific things. If you watch Injustice, he plays a very big role and actually helps take down the big bad.
Right.
But like he's not the only one who does it. It is everyone helping out. Plastic Man is the kind of like the catalyst that like helps the League get from one step to another step to another step. And I think he's utilized really well in that situation. So you don't need to make him into a movie. You can just use him like cilantro.
I agree with that statement, unless it's Max Greenfield.
Yeah, that's Plastic Man.
Woo!
Woo. And that concludes the episode. Now is our favorite time where we watch things instead of research things.
Watch this.
And we recommend it to you, our listeners, for you to view with your eyeballs.
Every time you say that, I think of A Clockwork Orange. And we're going to force you to watch these things.
My recommendation is kind of a twofer, but they all go into each other. One is Supergirl.
Oh, nice. I haven't seen it yet.
I think it's a great movie. I think it's a great addition to the James Gunn DC universe. I really like it. Crypto's in it. Crypto's great.
We love a floppy-eared dog on this
We do.
podcast.
We do. So I know that it might not be in theaters by the time that this episode comes out. If it still is in your theater or if it's in cheap theater, definitely check it out if you
Sticky
can.
floor theater.
But like I said, I kind of have a twofer. So if you don't know, the movie is based on a graphic novel, which is called Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
Yes.
And the story is plucked from that book, and then they added a few things. They took out a few things, like there was a horse in the book that isn't in the movie. From what I would recommend, if you can, see the movie first and then read the comic.
Interesting.
Because the reason why I say go about that way is because we're also these book snobs where you read the book, you watch the movie, and you're just like, actually,
Right.
that's not how
The
it
book
works.
was better.
And the reason why I would recommend like watching the movie first, like enjoy the movie, and then going into the book, which is written by Tom King, is that there's so much more that is explored in the book. They do add some things, like they added Lobo in the movie, which is not in the
Right.
book, but they wanted to introduce that character in there. But there's so much more that is explored in the book, which makes it pretty interesting. So it's this more of like, if you're curious about what is Supergirl now in the comic book, I think the movie's a good introduction, and I think reading the book is there to like satisfy your curiosity of like, what else is she doing? What else is she capable of? Like, there's more multitudes to her that you can explore through the book. So, yep, recommend the movie Supergirl and recommend the book by Tom King, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
This is going to be really random and so off topic, but going on like the idea that we pick a lot of like lesser known things, or, you know, I guess smaller things or whatever. There is a movie that I don't think I've recommended that I saw a while ago. It's called Forbidden Fruits, but it's like Charmed meets The Craft meets Practical Magic set in a mall. It's just a fun time if that is your vibe. I like a femme-led cast. Mm-hmm. We'll go with that.
And you can find us on the socials. We are at Development Purgatory on Instagram and TikTok. We are at Dev Purgatory on Blue Sky. You can support this podcast by going to our Patreon. For $5 a month, you can get ad-free episodes, or all of our episodes, which includes the episodes with David. If you can't support us there, that is completely fine. There are other ways that you can do so. You can like and subscribe.
Smash that like. I can't.
You can rate and review. That's another way you can do it. And you can just tell your friends, family, whoever you know is a big film nerd, who is a big Plastic Man nerd, DC nerd, Wachowskis nerd. Let them know about the show. Spread the word.
Just go tell a random person on the street corner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's how I tell people about our podcast. You can also send us an email with recommendations. Our current email, is developmentpurgatory@gmail.com. If you use our old email,
no worries. We get that too.
We get those also, notgetmade@gmail.com. But we have the new email to go with the new name. So go out there, watch a movie, see a movie, tell your friends about movies. Make a movie?
Make a movie!
Go make a movie.
Go make a movie! Ooh!
Plastic Man here reminding you that the next time you lend somebody a helping hand, be sure you get it back. So long.